Hello everybody and welcome to a brand new Elder Scrolls Online not a Let's Play, build video with me, Sherman. And today guys, I'm bringing you guys the Lord Knight. And this is just a different version of, or variant if you will, of the Avenger tank. This is a solo play build, primarily. You can use it in group play if you want. It actually does hold up pretty well in both group and in solo play. For solo play, I have it set up primarily for that right now, but I also have it set up for when you're in group, which is just changing food, really. But let's go ahead and take a look at the build itself. We are a Wood Elf Templar. Wood Elf is not the best for this, actually. Orc is better, but Orc also loses 1,000 stamina, but gains 1,000 health, which is nice. They end up with about 20k health when set up with different foods and such. As you can see, we have a 951 mag recovery, 905 stam recovery. We do have a 2701 weapon damage, 47% weapon crit, 28% spell crit. Don't worry about your spell crit. It's primarily you're going to be focusing on stamina. We do have 64 in the stamina here to give us that high stamina pool, and then we have 20k in a spell, 20k spell resist, 20k physical resist, and that is unbuffed. We are a heavy armor build. Thief Mundus Stone for higher crit chance, and then we are using tri-stat food. Alright, moving on to the equipment and gear. Food wise, tripods is what we're going to use primarily for because we have the buffs to buff our weapon damage and our weapon crit already built into the character. We don't need extra, so we primarily use these when we're solo playing in the overland and stuff. We use Dubious Cameron Throne for when we're playing in a group. We use Warrior Power Pots when we're playing in a group, and we also use Longfin Pasty and Melon Sauce when we're playing in a group, or when we're solo playing, sorry. So Longfin is for solo play, Tripods solo play, Dubious and Warrior Pots for when you're playing in a group. Alright, going over our set, starting with our monster set, and this is a great crowd control CC set. It is Silatrix. This gives you max stamina, and then the two-piece. When you deal damage, you have a 10% chance to create an earthquake under the enemy that erupts for after 1.5 seconds, dealing X amount of physical damage to all enemies in 4 meters. And stunning them for 3 seconds. This can happen every 5.5 seconds. Pretty much, this is non-stop, okay? It's just going to fire every time you do damage, just about, it seems like. Moving on, the next set we're using, of course, is Night Mother's Gaze. A lot of people keep telling me, dude, you don't need Night Mother's Gaze, there's caltrops and all this other stuff. The way this build works, Night Mother's Gaze actually works better than caltrops. And the main reason why this works better is because you're going to be applying Major Fracture to multiple targets all the time. Instead of with caltrops where you got like an AoE area, whether you're light attacking, whether you're heavy attacking, whether you're using Brawler, any ability you use that does critical damage will apply Major Fracture. And that's why we want this, is so we can get that Major Fracture on more enemies all the time. So really good. It lasts for 6 seconds. It'll be up pretty much 100% of the time on any targets you're fighting. The next thing that's really great is the next set, which is called Nightmare. Nightmare is a fantastic set for this. It gives you physical resistance on the 2-piece. The 3-piece adds max health, and the 4-piece weapon damage. When you deal melee damage, you have a 20% chance to apply Minor Maim to all enemies within 8 meters of you for 5 seconds, reducing their damage done by 15%. Now here's the thing, because you're constantly dealing damage, any melee damage you deal, so that means every time you activate your Brawler, every time you activate your Wrecking Blow, you will pretty much be applying Minor Maim all the time. So it's really nice for that, it's really good for that. I prefer actually using two-handed and dual wield for this kind of combination, but two-handed and bow works awesome. Alright, so now going over the traits and enchants, starting with the enchants, of course. On our helm, chest, and legs, we are using tri-stat enchants so we can be more effective with Magicka, Stamina, all that kind of stuff. Going back out here, stop that game or computer. So yeah, you want that max health, Stamina, Magicka for your character. That's why we're running 3 tri-stats. And then on the smaller pieces, all max Stamina, and this is going to maximize our Stamina pool. Now, before I get too far, I want to talk about traits. So the helm and the legs, we are using Invigorating. This is going to give you a little bit more Stamina recovery and Mag recovery. This is going to help you sustain better when you're playing either as a DPS or you're playing as a solo play. When you're playing solo, you also want a really good resistance, so that's why we go Reinforced on the chest. We are in a 5-piece heavy setup, so this heavy chest is going to really help us out. And then on the, moving on to the jewelry, we are using 2 Trirune rings with weapon damage and 1 infused necklace with mag recovery. The 2 weapon damage on the rings is going to basically improve your overall damage capabilities, and then the infused necklace with the magic recovery is going to help you allow you to keep magic, certain magic ability up a lot. So moving on to the weapons, we are using a 2-handed Greatsword of Nightmare with Nirnhoned trait on it. If you don't have Nirnhoned, you can use Sharpen here. We are using an Absorb Stamina enchant. This is going to give us physical damage and restore X amount of stamina. This is going to help us sustain. And then on the back bar, we are using an infused bow with weapon damage, spell damage enchant. This is going to increase our max weapon damage. This is going to help improve our DPS. And then moving on now to our skills. Starting with the skills we have on our bar, first ability we have is Wrecking Blow. Now, you don't have to use Wrecking Blow. The main reason why I do is because the minor maim from the 1 ability will proc off of this, and this does a lot of damage, plus it gives you Empower on your next light attack. You can use Biting Jabs if you want here. Next ability we have is Brawler. Like I said, this is primarily set up for playing in solo play right now. So Brawler hits multiple targets, applies the damage shield for 6 seconds, and that shield strength is 50. The shield strength grows by 50% by each enemy hit, up to a maximum of 300%. So you can actually get a decent sized shield out of this, somewhere close to 20k sometimes. The next ability we have is our next shield is Blazing Shield. This thing will absorb a decent amount of damage based on your max health, and then it'll explode outwards, dealing damage. The shield strength also grows by 4% for each enemy nearby. So both of these shields grow by enemies based on how many enemies you hit with Brawler, and then with this one it grows based on how many enemies are nearby. The next ability we have is Rally. Now, a lot of people are going to say Rally became a useless skill, but it's actually really good now because it does have that minor endurance on it, which gives you the stam recovery, and it also gives you weapon damage enchant. And then after you activate it, you get a heal at the end, and the heal is actually pretty powerful when you have it last its full duration. It is not the only heal you have. The next ability we have is called Evil Hunter. We have this here just to give us major savagery. When you're playing solo and in Overland, you don't want to be firing off potions constantly. You want to save those for dungeons and trials, and that's why we use Evil Hunter in the Overland, is so this way we can get that higher crit chance without wasting a potion. No offense. Tripods, I don't mind using in Overland. Sometimes I just use trash pots I find along the way, but most of the time I do use tripods because I can craft them on live, and I have a mass abundance of them. The next skill we have is Flawless Dawnbreaker. We use this primarily for trash, like killing a lot of ads, stuff like that. It's really good for that. It does physical damage up front, physical damage over 6 seconds, and it adds 300 weapon damage for 20 seconds after activating it. This is a super cheap cost ultimate, and it'll pretty much be going off all the time. I don't want to say a lot, but a lot. Moving on to the back bar, we have our first ability, Venom Arrow. This does decent amount of damage up front, decent amount of damage over 10 seconds, and then on top of that, if an enemy is casting an ability, and yes, I do like this because of that, it interrupts, sets them off balance, and stuns them for 3 seconds. Next ability is Aerobridge. This is just great for damage over time. Then we have our big hitter ability, and I do love this. Great way to remove negative effects on yourself, but it also puts down a heal for you and your allies, and it also does damage every 2 seconds for 12 seconds, and it's also synergy, which is really good when it comes to group play. The primary reason why we use this is we don't have a heal, so you're going to be using this to self-sustain your healing. Now, whenever you activate this ability or the next one, you will get 8% minor mending. So, Restoring Focus is our next one. Now, this one does increases physical and spell resist by 5,280 for 20 seconds, and you gain 240 stamina every second, and then standing inside of the circle gives you increased physical and spell resistance by 50%, which I'll show you guys in a second. It's pretty cool. Then we have our Evil Hunter again, and then of course the final ability we have here is Empowering Sweeps. Now you can put any ultimate here you want, depending on your group dynamic, that kind of stuff. I like Empowering Sweeps because it does, not only does it grant you the empower, but it can do a lot of damage. Alright, now that I've shown you guys that, I'm going to go ahead and show you guys what the resistance looks like buffed up. So we go to 28. This thing is a tank, okay? When you're out in Overland, this thing is just practically unkillable. The other thing that's great is when you're fully buffed with your weapon damage, you go to 3183, and this will allow you to do some decent damage. Not insane DPS, but decent damage. Now, like I said, there is several ways you can do this. You can put biting jabs and just move Brawler over like this, and this will help you with your DPS overall. And your spammable will just be biting jabs, so your choice. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take this into a dungeon. I mean, I could do a quick parse if you guys want to see that. I'll go ahead and pop my one thing, and I'll go ahead and use my potion, and I will do a quick parse on this enemy here. It's not going to be anything fantastic. I mean, we're talking like maybe at max 20k. But this is, I mean, we're talking, this is like if you're playing in a group, and you're going to actually be doing more than that because you're going to be able to switch other abilities in for other abilities that you're going to be losing. So, like, you're going to get rid of Rally and the Evil Hunter, and you're going to put, I usually put, like, the Execution or Reverse Slice, and I put the Throwing Spear thing by for the Templar, and I will put Barbed Trap on the back bar, and just a bunch of stuff to make this build more viable DPS when you're playing in a group. But let's go ahead and go back to our other food. We're going to go ahead and jump into a dungeon, like I said. We are going to jump into Lair of Marsalek, and we're going to just play through to the first boss encounter. And just to show you guys like how well this thing can solo. And the reason I'm using Lair of Marsalek, it is one of the newer dungeons. Newer DLC dungeons are a lot different than base game dungeons. Base game dungeons are a lot easier. So if I was going to go in and solo one of these, I would just go in under Veteran. Any base game dungeon, I would just go in under Veteran and play. And then in the DLC dungeons, of course, I will test with, most of the time, with a normal run. So right, so let's go ahead and get in here, and pretty much like I said, you're gonna be using tripods most of the time because you get your rally's gonna give you the and you guys notice I haven't even pulled out my bow yet because there's no point in using it right now, except for the heal. Alright. I don't even need to use a potion yet because I play this build way too much on live. No, not this exact build. I play the Avenger, which is similar to this. It uses solo tricks with the Well, it depends. Usually, like I'm gonna be using Night Mothers now because I like the fact that I can put major fracture on multiple targets anytime I deal critical damage. So there we go. They're all dead. Oh, there's that one. But the nice thing about this build is it's one that I've been playing for so long. I mean, I've played this build since before Morrowind came out. And I tank with it, I do all kinds of stuff, but like I said, I use the Avenger version. So I use Silitrix, Plague Doctors, and Night Mother's Gaze. And that's another good option in this build setup. Dead. I'm gonna go ahead and do that just to get some enemies down. Where are you hiding? There you are. Most of the time, though, when it comes to your shield, like your blazing shield, the only thing that's going to take that off 90% of the time is a boss. So that's really cool. This build is also really good at doing Maelstrom Arena. Even with it set up as it is, if you have like a Maelstrom bow, it of course works better, but we don't have one, so it works really good as is in there because of all the CC, all the AoE damage that this build does. It's just it's a trash killer, so it's really good for that. And you can even go medium armor if you wanted to and still use the Hunting's Rage and all that, or not Hunting's Rage, Night Mother's Gaze, and go medium, so you get higher weapon damage and a higher crit capability. That is 100% viable with Nightmare and Silitrix. Alright, let's go ahead and get ready for this.
Now for payment in kind. It's my turn to study your insides more.
Sometimes you just kind of heavy attack. Would you hit this thing? Jeez. Yeah, if I wasn't prepared for that, I would be so dead right now. And I died. But that is the Lord Knight, guys. I hope you guys like it. It is one of my favorite builds. I'm not gonna lie. I play this all the time on live. Pretty much live on this build. And it does work with more than just the Templar, like this setup does, the gear setup. Like, it works on DK really well. It works on Nightblades really well. It works, and if you do DK and Nightblade, you don't have to run Night Mother's Gauge. You can actually run other things like Hunting's Rage, or even if you wanted to, Reliquin or something like that. There's other options. So, but yeah, it's a really good setup. So, but that's pretty much it for the build, guys. I hope you guys liked it. If you did, you guys know what's coming next. Go ahead and hit that like button. If you guys want to see more builds by me, you can subscribe. Other than that, I want to thank you all for watching. Until next time, have a wonderful day, and this guy might see you in game. Bye.